All right, people, big weekend, big episode. If you're watching us on video form, you'll see that we're doing our Fantastic Four review. If you're listening to us on podcast, you've already heard the finale for season 2 of Lost. For those of us who are watching on video, a couple of updates. So we are wrapping up our Lost season 2 reaction immediately after this. So be sure to tune into that as well. Also, Luke, this is pretty much the end of the summer blockbuster season, as you were just reminding me of beforehand. I mean, we have Naked Gun next weekend, and then we have Weapons the weekend after. We got a couple more entries. Caught Stealing and Highest to Lowest are both opening late in August. But yeah, for the most part, this is really the last big summer blockbuster until I want to say Tron Ares in October is going to be our next like big, huge blockbuster. And that'll pretty much kick off the fall blockbuster season.
I think there was something in September. I can't remember what it was, but
Well, you got the
essentially, yeah.
Yeah, you got the Paul Thomas Anderson movie coming out in September, but other than that, yeah, I can't really think of any big ones that are coming out between the rest of August and September. I mean, who knows? That'll be interesting. I always like when that happens because it means that there could be like another like sneaky little surprise movie that could sneak through, and get some attention. Also, Warner Brothers taking another big gamble with Paul Thomas Anderson dropping $100 million on him. And I don't remember what his highest grossing movie ever is, but it's not big. Paul Thomas Anderson is not a dude who makes blockbusters, but he does make some really good movies. But we're here to talk about it, Luke. We talked about it 2 weeks ago with Superman, and now we're here back. Marvel's third entry this year, their first real attempt at their first family after a couple of, fun little cameos in their previous efforts. John Krasinski in Multiverse of Madness, Chris Evans coming back as Human Torch in Deadpool and Wolverine in order to, continue to up the stakes of the multiverse. But here we have it officially, Marvel's official Fantastic Four. And they came out right away and said, yeah, this is not going to be on Earth 616 because we don't want to have to deal with anybody kind of, complaining and arguing, oh, where were the Fantastic Four during Thanos' snap and all that, and Marvel being like, listen, guys, we hadn't quite locked down the ownership of 20th Century Fox. We couldn't just throw these guys in immediately, So obviously this movie, like every other Marvel movie that's been released in the last 2 to 3 years, has gone through a lot of behind the scenes development. It was originally announced that John Watts, the director of the 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, was going to be directing this. And then he ended up stepping aside because he was done with superheroes. So then Marvel ended up bringing on Matt Shakman, who directed all 9 episodes of WandaVision and has had a long history of directing for television. That goes all the way back to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where I think he did some of his best work.
There was like 1,000 casting rumors, like
yes.
different combinations. You had Adam Driver at one point, Margot Robbie.
Jake Gyllenhaal also was in the mix as well. But eventually, I believe it was around like February of last year when they officially announced the cast. It was going to be Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss Backrack. And then a couple months later, you have Robert Downey Jr. being announced as Dr. Doom at Comic-Con. And we have sat through kind of the drudgery that was Brave New World and the surprise that was Thunderbolts. We're being like, oh, is Marvel back? Then we have the whole Superman movement where it's like, okay, James Gunn has now made his stamp on the DCEU with his, with his feature film first entry in order to kick off that new universe with Superman. That movie is pretty well beloved. Very well enjoyed. So people were wondering going into this, they're like, okay, how is Marvel going to compete against now its former prize darling? How is Fantastic Four going to hold up? And I'm going to let you take this one first because I have a lot of conflicting thoughts. I just saw the movie for the first time last night. I have a lot of conflicting thoughts, but I want you to go first.
Well, I really enjoyed it. Fourth time around, because if you count the 90s unreleased one, everyone's throwing up the 4. I love it.
Gotta throw up the 4.
And we're just so much going for it. Like even beforehand, it's like, oh, you got the 60s vibe. It's other universe. They don't have anything attached to them in terms of the mainline MCU. They can just fully do the quick origin, just bang and get in, which is a very fast movie.
Very fast movie. They cut a lot.
There's a cut a lot, but I can see why they would cut what they cut. But I'm very happy with it. For me, it's right next to Superman, like just maybe like a tiny bit. If I rewatch them both a few more times, they might swap. But right now, it's like they Marvel and DC, they matched each other, and it's what we the fans want. It's better for them. It's better for us. So yeah, it was as I would say, fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I really did. I had a good time with it. Mostly just because the opening sequence, right? I'm just like, oh my God, just thank the Lord. They made an actual goddamn Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
Not a movie
We're
that's
not
like,
trying to do the Dark Knight
we're not trying to do the
influence.
Dark Knight whole influence thing. We're not trying to make this grounded realistic. We're not trying to go off the Raimi Spider-Man movies and like have it set real world. And I will say, I do enjoy those mid 2000s Fantastic Four movies for what they are. They're not great. They're not trying to be anything spectacular. But for what those were at the time, they were pretty good. This is the true version of the Fantastic Four. Like, and this movie has a lot going for it. It really, really does. Like you were saying, the 60s aesthetic and vibe is the highlight to me of the movie because it just makes the world feel so much more different than the MCU that we've kind of gotten to know. Because that's the thing also is that for all of their like, parading around the multiverse for the last couple of efforts, nothing has really felt like that, like different and nothing has felt really that different and captivating. This is the first time where this truly feels like a completely different world. This does not feel like the Marvel that we have come to know. I don't know if they said this takes place in the 60s or if it's just modeled after the 60s, but they're very clearly going for that retro futuristic, world of tomorrow kind of thing. That in a weird way Tomorrowland also tried to do, but they really, really went for it. They really went for it. Like you can tell that Marvel put a lot of thought into this, a lot of effort into the design, into the look of the movie. And it even goes into the performances as well, because Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben in this incarnation are acting like characters that would live in the 60s, And this is probably the biggest surprise for me. Pedro Pascal, the dude who we have been complaining about endlessly, who has been in...
You have been complaining about it.
I have been complaining about endlessly, yes. As far as I'm sick of seeing him, this is like his 5th thing that he's been in so far this year.
I just think he's a really good agent. Like,
yeah, you don't say. After Freaky Tales, Eddington, Last of Us, Materialists, and now Fantastic Four. And man,
I think he was originally going to be in Weapons, but then I guess he got
cast in this. And then he got cast in this. Yes, and then they replaced him with Josh Brolin. I color me impressed. Color me impressed. Never in a million years would I be saying that, okay, Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards. Yeah, that worked. And fuck, it worked. It really, really worked. Like I said, the production design it has going for it. The feel it has going for it. It really, really, I think, captures... I'm trying to remember the last time I said this because it's been a while, but this really, really captures the feel of that 1960s Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. Again, this is their first ever Marvel super team that they put out. This predates Avengers. This predates X-Men. I want to say this predates Spider-Man because Steve Ditko came on later on and did Spider-Man. So this is literally their first ever super team. And the other thing, too, also and the reason why I have always gravitated personally towards the Fantastic Four, I don't know if I've said this on a podcast before, Fantastic Four is my favorite Marvel superhero team. They always have been. Is that what sets them apart from the Avengers, from the X-Men, from the Thunder, from every other incarnate superhero team that Marvel's ever done, is they are a family first. They are a family first, and they are really more so scientists and explorers and engineers and real-world diplomats than all these other Marvel heroes, even more so than Tony Stark and Hank Pym. Reed Richards is like the pioneering mind when it comes to science. Sue Storm is like a diplomat, and the Fantastic Four really do take part in real world global affairs. They're not like the Avengers, which are pretty much this like autonomous body that operates completely independently of the US government. It's just the Fantastic Four, since their inception, have pretty much been tied into everything going on in real world events. And I really, really love how this movie does such a good job of setting up their dynamic without having to dive into the origin, very similarly to Superman, where all of these movies now are pretty much like, okay, you guys know the origin. Like, we don't need to waste any time with that. We're just
or at least we can show you like a quick little talk show intro, which I think that was perfect.
Right, it was perfect.
Catching up, like, okay, we maybe not everyone knows the exact origins. They went to space, they got hit by a cloud, bang, they came back. One's a rock, one's a fire, one's invisible, one's stretchy, bang.
Yeah, pretty much. And like I said, exposition handled perfectly in the first bit.
You know what's funny about this?
Yeah.
Like, Thunderbolts doesn't have a second act, and this one doesn't really have a first act.
Doesn't really need it though. Is what's funny.
Exactly. Yeah. I think if everything that was cut would have been in the first act, like fighting all the other heroes, and that would have just been like, okay,
yes,
when is the Silver Surfer going to show up?
It would have been tedious. Like I said, they cut a lot of stuff. They cut John Malkovich as the Red Ghost. They cut all the funny, silly gimmicks. They cut the Thing on a dating show, which honestly, I'm glad they got away with that. They cut that. Like I said, again, in a weird way, very similar to Superman in the sense of all the stuff they cut. I'm glad they cut, because when I heard all the stuff that they were going to include, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't think that would have necessarily been. I don't think that necessarily would have been good, but. So like I said, you have them like integrating into the world very well. The movie kind of just drops you into the world and lets you kind of go along with it. But again, it's I give these movies a lot of credit because they're not trying to hold the audience's hand. They're like, okay, you know these characters, you know these guys. Let's just drop you into the world, show you how it is completely different from every incarnation you've done before, and we're going to kind of just take you along for the ride. And that's exactly what they did. The other thing too also that I think gives this the added benefit of not having to really be an origin story is the fact that we can do so much more things. We can see the Fantastic Four in space. We finally get Franklin Richards, Reed and Sue's firstborn son in this movie, who, you know, obviously once we get into Doomsday and Secret Wars is going to be a crucial part and is the most powerful being in the Marvel universe is Franklin Richards. You have all these fun little inserts and references to all the previous villains. You have the Mole Man in this movie, played very entertainingly by Paul Walter Hauser, and a couple of references to some of their other villains. And what's even better is this whole movie basically acts as Marvel's way of being like, okay, we're going to do Rise of the Silver Surfer, but right, where you get Galactus in his full-blown glory, comic accurate look, and man, they knocked the hell out of that sequence. What's it called? Julia Garner as Silver Surfer. And everything there. Like I said, that stuff is the stuff, specifically with the Silver Surfer, the Rise of the Silver Surfer kind of already did well, but they're like, okay, now we're going to like update it for like 21st century. And so you get all of these different things. And again, it really shows how far we've come in comic book storytelling, because again, 20 years ago, this is something that would have taken minimum 3 movies just to get through. And now in today's day and age, because we have a generation of people who have grown up with these movies, who are so used to this type of storytelling, are now kind of able to just take it and embrace it and go along with it. They're like, okay, so this is the Fantastic Four. We know who they are. Boom. Oh, it's set in an alternate Earth that like is modeled after retro 60s. Cool. We're going with it. Oh, Reed and Sue. The opening scene. Oh, Sue's pregnant. They're having a kid. Boom. Okay, we're going with it. Oh no, the Silver Surfer's here. They're going to destroy Earth. Boom. We're going with it. Okay, the Fantastic Four are taking off into space. Like there's a lot that happens in this movie, but they're able to structure it in such a way that it still makes sense. So generally, like kind of how do you think this compares to like previous like comic book efforts?
I think we're kind of at a point in comic book movies where we've kind of seen everything. Like throughout the 2010s, Marvel's kind of ran through the whole genre in a way, and now DC's trying something new with their approach. Marvel's also going to hit a reset in a few years.
Yes.
So it's not anything like groundbreaking in this movie. It's like, oh, you haven't seen this kind of storytelling before. Again, like you said, it's basically just Rise of the Silver Surfer, but done right. They're just gonna, okay, we're gonna do the classic Fantastic Four stories that people know. We're just gonna do it right. We're gonna establish the family dynamic first. It's like with Superman, like the greatest strength of that movie is showing his humanity, and the greatest strength he is showing their family dynamic. You know, they're all important. It's not just Chris Evans saying, "Oh, I love women and stuff." It's Johnny Storm. He actually plays like a very crucial role.
Yes.
In turning the Silver Surfer to their side. Spoilers, surprise, the Silver Surfer helps them.
And nobody's surprised. Yeah,
it's like, oh, how's the movie gonna end? Oh, the Fantastic Four are gonna use their powers together to beat the bad guys.
Gee, who could have seen that one coming?
It's like, okay, we can't really do much more than that, so let's just do that, but do it really good. So I think that's where we are with comic book movies. Do what we know can be done, and just do it well, because we're kind of scraped everything, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So
that kind of as well goes into a point where I've heard this talking point on a couple different podcasts recently when they're talking about the state of superhero content and cinema in general, which is where, again, obviously with James Gunn now running DC and all the projects that are coming out and people seemingly reinvigorated, everything going on with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, a couple of people have been saying, oh, it's like superhero cinema is no longer interested in taking risks. They just want to replay the hits. And I'm just like, well, if you call the last 4 to 5 years of superheroes taking risks, then yeah, by all means, continue to replay the hits. Because if it means that we'll be getting more movies like this and less movies like fucking Quantumania and the Marvels, if that's what you call taking risks, or any of the bullshit that Sony put out last year, I'll happily take it. Because if there's one thing that I've learned about comic book fans, specifically. And I've been talking about this for a couple of years now, really since 2021 with WandaVision, where I said that, okay, we are done trying to adapt these into movies. We are now just letting the comic books be the comic books. And that had a lot of ups and downs, but I feel like we're finally starting to hit the peak where the people at the highest levels of creative control here, not necessarily commercial control, but creative control here, are understanding that, okay, people want comic books at the end of the day. They don't want to try and they don't want movies that are trying to cater to a whole bunch of different audiences by hitting 4 quadrants. No, because that to me is if I had to say one of the biggest differences between the superhero movies of the 2010s and 2000s versus the superhero movies today is that the superhero movies of the 2010s were trying to be movies first that were adapting comics. As good as the MCU was, at the end of the day, they were merely only kind of picking and choosing the comic storylines that they liked and sort of changing it bits and pieces here and there. You know, the Avengers famously adapting the Ultimate Marvel comic line and so on and so forth. You know, Infinity War is a loose adaptation of Infinity Gauntlet, but they can't obviously adapt all of it. You know, now the comic book movies are straight up trying to be comic books. Superman, Gunn did not shy away from the fact that, yeah, this is based on Grant Morrison's Superman Man of Tomorrow run. I think I screwed that up, but whatever.
It was
And then
All-Star Superman.
All-Star Superman, thank you. And then Fantastic Four, yeah, they're like, yeah, we are very clearly trying to do the early 60s, like Fantastic Four run. We are not trying to shy away from the fact that we are a comic with the bright colors and the insane designs and what's it called? And also the fact that, again, people just, they want the original comic book designs. You know, the whole day, the days of Bryan Singer being terrified of making the X-Men, of putting the X-Men in yellow and blue spandex are over. You know, now we can get comic books to their full accurate design and look. And I think it's to the better, honestly, because even if the stories aren't necessarily anything that we haven't seen before, it still makes it feel creative and new. Because like I said, it's probably my number one favorite point about this is the fact that this feels like the most lived in comic book world that I have seen in a very long, long time. And Superman goes with that as well. It is quite interesting how these two movies did open only 2 weeks apart, and they do have a lot more similarities than I give them credit for. They're all about kind of inspiring a new wave of hope. They're all about, you know, trying to get away from cynicism. You know, Superman was all about accepting embracing your heritage. This movie is all about, you know, what's it called? Sticking strong through through your family bonds and not caving way to anything. The other thing that I really enjoyed about this movie is that this is the first Marvel movie I think I've ever seen that actually makes use of the people around the superheroes. Like the people of New York in this world, Earth 828, as they say, are characters in this movie and play a very, very important part. Like the whole public reaction and the relationship that the Fantastic Four maintains with the public as a whole. Again, the whole opening exposition sequence is done through an Ed Sullivan-esque TV show. Like all of that was really, really interesting and cool, I thought, because it actually makes the world even more of a character, I think.
Yeah, that's a little bit of the Raimi trilogy coming back. Hey, we're in New York. You mess with us, one of us, you mess with all of us, kind of thing. Like where they throw bricks at Willem Dafoe in the first one or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really about that coming together. Like the whole plot of, okay, everyone has to save power. That kind of montage was pretty cool. Like, oh, if only it were that simple in the real world.
Yeah.
Again, kind of like Superman, just people coming together for a greater cause. World feels lived in, and again, they did all that in like less than 2 hours,
right?
Which is why the pacing is so brisk. Like people already like assembling full on like mini trailers of footage that wasn't in the movie.
Yep.
But ultimately, I think they didn't cut anything as absolutely essential. It still got all the points across. The action was cool. We get like a random interstellar sequence in the middle of the movie.
I was about to ask you about that. I was like, that was
like,
the moment where I'm like, oh, I know, I've seen this before. This is still very prevalent on my mind.
As an Interstellar fan, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
put Interstellar with the Fantastic Four together. Like,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. I love that.
I love that they just don't like try to explain anything. Faster than light travel, boom, solved it, mate. Teleportation across the universe, boom, solved it, mate. Just like, okay, I'm rolling with. I could nitpick it to hell, but no,
Well, because that's the
it's the
thing.
full comic booky universe.
Yes, because
as
that's
you
the
call
thing
it.
too. Also, is that, like I said, it's part of the comic lore. It's part of embracing the comic lore, where it's like, again, we're not going to explain everything and hold your hand, but that's the shit that I prefer, because if anything, that's what helps makes it more cinematic. Cinema is all about showing you, not telling you, and so much of the fear of comic book storytelling has been we have to tell you everything beforehand, and I think it's hurt not only comic book movies but movies in general, because movies in general have felt like they can't trust their audience to know what's going on, so they're just going to tell you everything. And if anything, if we're getting movies on this big of a level that are that confident with being like, okay, we're not going to tell you anything, we're just going to throw you right in and you're just going to go with it, that gives me hope, honestly, because what that's going to do is that's going to tell other movie studios, okay, we don't have to tell you everything, we could just kind of send you in. And as far as the middle sequence, that's what a lot of people are saying is their favorite sequence, and understandably so. Again, the movie knew what it was doing. I would not at all be surprised if they literally just pulled the graphic files from Interstellar, just put it right up there and be like, okay,
They
put
just
some
sent an
cast out on
intern to
there.
the Warner Brothers office
I mean,
across
come
the
on, when
street,
they're
just
going
like,
through the wormhole, I was like, come on, like that, they're not even trying. Like, what are we doing here? But no, but it was still a great sequence. It was still awesome. Like, I'm like, oh my God, we got the Fantastic Four going into space, because that's the joy of the Fantastic Four. You don't enjoy watching the Fantastic Four like punch giant monsters or take down like the wizard and everything. No, that's not their whole thing. They're really more so like goofy. They're more Star Trek, I would say, than Marvel, if anything. It's all about like every kind of episode, every movie, every issue is about like, okay, what new place are we going to explore? What new kind of crazy scientific problem is Reed going to have to solve last minute? You know, what kind of that is the Fantastic Four ultimately. And the fact that we got that in this movie finally, where it's like, okay, we have, Reed Richards is the smartest man on the planet. He is arguably one of the top 3 smartest minds in the entire MCU. It's sad that we'll never get to see him interact with Tony Stark, because I will say the Tony Stark Reed Richards dynamic is, to me, way more interesting than, say, the Tony Stark Doctor Strange dynamic that we got. But I love that we like got to see like Reed is, an egghead. Reed is socially inept. Reed is so smart that he is constantly thinking of all these crazy out there doomsday scenarios beforehand, so that so that he can like pretty much solve the threats before they essentially come.
yeah.
The difference
And
is
it's also, they also make it like a flaw of him, because he
yes,
considers like, okay, what if we did give up Franklin, and now that causes a rift between him and Sue, which just only deepens their relationship. And
yes.
That's kind of the core of the whole movie. Like, okay, we're gonna like, and she has that great speech of, I'm not gonna sacrifice the world for my child, but I'm not gonna sacrifice my child for the world, or is it the other way
Yeah,
around?
great
Either way,
speech.
it was a good scene. It was a good scene.
Good scene. And it's funny too, because ever since you pointed out the Emma Frost thing on our Mission Impossible rewatch, I was like, oh, it's so hard. It's so hard for me to not see it. But I gotta say, it worked. It worked, because there was something about Vanessa Kirby. Vanessa Kirby, despite only being 35, I want to say, is very, very regal, very formal. She's somebody who kind of comes across as ageless. She could be 100 years old, she could be 20 years old, and either way, you would buy it, And what's so interesting about her portrayal of Sue is Susan Storm is to be a very warm figure, a very maternal figure. The thing about Sue is that she is one of, honestly, the most impressive female characters ever created. The fact that she is simultaneously a mother, this genius science person, an expert diplomat, an expert courier. She is, it is often referred to that she is the glue of the Fantastic Four, the one that really holds them together. And the fact that Kirby is able to portray all of that flawlessly, like we see her in all of these different instances, we get to see her be vulnerable, we get to see her be an absolute badass, we get to see her be angry, we even get to see
I
her.
love the anger part in
that
the
was
in the
great.
wormhole part.
Yeah.
I was like, she's trying to kidnap your nephew, kill her.
That was so good. That was great. There's a couple of random. That's the other thing too. Also, is that this movie, we're finally starting to get away from like the having to insert joke at minute number whatever, and like it's starting to feel a little bit more natural. It took a while, but we're finally getting there. And even the older brother sister dynamic that she has with Johnny, which is also another element that kind of gets overlooked a lot, is the fact that, again, the reason why these four are so crucially to get so crucial together is because of all of their different kind of interdynamics that they have with each and every one of each other, where Ben and Susan have this very like this very warm back and forth where Susan has often been the one that's pulled him back from the brink in terms of his darkest moments. We got to see Reed and Johnny together, which is something that I never thought, because Reed often in the past has looked down on Johnny and kind of thought of him as like, just kind of like a dumb kid. And like you said, this is the first instance where we actually get to see Johnny Storm not just be the cocky, arrogant womanizer. He actually like has an arc and he actually has flaws. And he's like, okay, I kind of just like want to go into space, and am I measuring up to kind of my quarter of the team, and all that. And it's kind of funny how Ben Grimm, who's my favorite of the Fantastic Four, is the one that kind of gets the least amount to do, but it doesn't matter.
He's a very expensive character.
Yes, he's
I think that's what it comes down
that's
to.
definitely what it comes down to. But even with him, they managed to make it work, because, and again, that just shows the power of Ebon Moss-Backrack. You and I both talked about it. When they were announcing these cast members, the one that we were all the least worried about was they're like, wait, Cousin Richie from The Bear is the thing, to the point where they even had his first major scene is him cooking. I'm like, of course, who else could have done this? Like, I can't think of a single other person that could have done this. Like, just absolute perfect casting. I do have a slight nitpick that when they brought in Natasha Lyonne finally, they don't have her playing Alicia Masters. Because I'm like, come on. But like, you got everything else so right. Like, down to the finest detail. And the one thing you couldn't do was have Alicia Masters, who was the only woman that Ben Grimm has ever been with, to my knowledge, in the entire history of the comics. You couldn't even do that. But yes, your thoughts on just kind of the casting and the individual team dynamics.
Yeah, I think Pedro was perfect. He showed that like kind of I'm so obsessed with this he's like Jack on Lost. He has to solve the problem of everyone, and it's his greatest strength and his greatest flaw. And Pedro, as Pedro does, he showed that vulnerability of Reed really well. As you said, Vanessa Kirby, she balanced everything. She balanced the badassery, the warmth, and the diplomat side of it. As we said, Ebon Moss-Backrack, that was no worries there. Like,
no worries at all.
The clobbering time delivered as well.
I'm gonna get to that when we get to the third act. I'm gonna get to that.
Yeah, but I think for me, in terms of character, my favorite was Johnny Storm, because like you see those clips of Chris Evans, like like this guy's really good, but then you realize, okay, that's the only thing he does in those movies. But here it's like, okay, Johnny, he fawns over the Silver Surfer, but he's also gonna solve the whole translation problem, and he's gonna try and fight Galactus all on his own. Like he does everything. Like they all do everything in this movie, except maybe like Ben Grimm, as we said. Like he's also kind of a glue of the team. Like they're all equally glued to each other.
Yes,
and he has some good moments like throughout the film.
Yes, very, very much so. Yeah, I like I said, that was the biggest thing for me going into this was I'm like, okay, how are they going to nail the team dynamics? Because in every previous incarnation, it has always been, the Reed Richard show and everybody else is kind of supporting. I thought, again, the 2015 Fantastic Four, amongst all of that movie's flaws, that to me was the one where, again, the worst thing that had going against it was just how like, we're going to build up like Reed and we're going to build up Johnny because he's Michael B. Jordan and he's cool and such, but we're going to sideline Sue for the actual mission. We're going to not bring Ben Grimm back, and then also just so many problems with that casting of Ben Grimm as well. Jamie Bell of all people. And here it's like, no, the thing about it is every one of these four members are so crucially integral. They do everything together. They live together. They eat together every Sunday lunch. Like they are a family, And also it's what I like is that it's not like a toxic codependent family either. Like they really do all need each other and lean each other and depend on each other and support each other. That's why they've tried to do other incarnations of the Fantastic Four in the past where they tried to swap out certain members, iterations where the Thing all of a sudden became Ben Grimm again and lost his powers and they had to replace him with She-Hulk at different points, and it's never worked. It's never, ever, ever worked. Like every single version of this, the only version of this team is these four ultimately. And then obviously once Reed and Sue start having kids and they bring in Franklin and later Valeria, and I wonder if that's going to play a part in Doomsday and Secret Wars at all when we get into that. All of that is so crucial and essential to this team and to the foundation of this team. And it's very apparent that they were working on that first and foremost, and they nailed it. It's so funny because I will never forget last year, my roommate being like, this cast is like if you plugged into ChatGPT, who would be the most ideal cast members for the Fantastic Four? And these four would be the ones that it turned out. And while I still do have quibbles with the Johnny Storm casting, I still wish that they had gone with Joe Keery over Joseph Quinn, because I see certain parts, and again, it really comes down to the writing and the look, because I see certain parts where Joseph Quinn is trying to like be human and relatable, and I'm like, he's struggling there, but just parts that I just know Joe Keery would have just been effortless in. But For the most part, they nailed it. They got it. They made it work.
I've learned one thing to never doubt Marvel and its casting, because
Yes.
everything they've done is impeccable. And like
Yes.
what they're gonna do with Downey, like we'll get to that
Yeah.
in a year and a half. But
Yes.
but for now, it's like they never miss on casting.
Yes,
like,
for the most
but
part.
whoever their casting director is very good at their job.
Seriously, they deserve multiple Oscars and then some. Yeah, and that brings me into the villains as well. Like I said, so Julia Garner as the Silver Surfer, Ralph Ineson, famously the deepest voice in Hollywood ever as Galactus, and again, very small part. Again, does not play as big a part of it in the movie, but still very entertaining.
But I think that's important when you have a cosmic horror. Like what they're trying to go for is like less is more ultimately.
Yes.
That's why he has so few lines. That's why you only really see him fully at the end. You only see him in shadows and silhouettes in the interstellar sequence, as I think everyone's calling it.
Yes.
But then he absolutely lives up to what I imagine. People are saying they nerfed him. I'm like,
not really.
It's a big guy. Like, what more can you do with him?
Yeah,
really?
There's only so much that you could do with that, exactly. And also, the thing that I love, too, about this incarnation of Galactus and not the gas cloud Galactus is it not only makes him more, I guess, tangible, if you will, in the sense of, it's like an actual thing that you could, like, see and touch instead of just, like, another stupid gas cloud like they did in 2007. And not only that, but it lets you get into kind of like the backstory and kind of it makes the conflict more real in the sense of it's this giant god thing that predates the known universe that just goes and crunches up planets. But I like that you see his ship. I like that you see how like the physics of it work, how it's done. Like because when you think like he eats planets, like what does that mean? Like he's just like a giant dude, but like he has this like giant ship that he's in that feeds and funnels the energy of the planets directly into him. It makes him more tangible. It makes him like he's not like, I don't remember if Galactus is a celestial or not, but it makes it more real. It makes it more believable. Ultimately, is what I'm trying to say. And as well as the Silver Surfer, again. It was stuff where again they only kind of exposited it in Rise of the Silver Surfer, but here like you really get into her backstory and her mythos as well, where you get into this thing of she made a deal with Galactus in exchange for him sparing her world, and then the trade-off for that ultimately would be that she would ultimately find these other worlds that would have to be sacrificed for Galactus's hunger. And I mean, honestly, also just the effects and the voice that they did for Julia Garner. Julia Garner is somebody who, again, you've probably developed a certain relationship to her if you've kind of gotten to know her as Ruth from Ozark. Because she
started watching Ozark after this.
Yeah, if you've seen Breaking Bad, you've seen it. So,
it is very
bad. Yeah. It's I enjoy Ozark because of Jason Bateman, and Julia Garner did grow on me after a certain point. But the thing that I liked is kind of she's got a very distinct, unique voice, and they really, really kind of focused on that. Because the effects that they do on the voice and like when she first comes down to Earth and is introduced, I thought was incredible. And also just like how they're like, okay, you've seen like the awesome Silver Surfer effects that they can do. Now we're going to really show it off in 4K. And like the sequences also where like Johnny flames on and goes after her. I'm like, I was thrilled.
And she actually surfs.
Thrilled. Yes.
Like that he has some incredible sequences in either on Galactus' ship where she's surfing through the lava, like actually surfing.
Yes.
Like they never actually call her the Silver Surfer. She's always the Herald.
Right.
And then she chases them through the wormhole, and then you have some amazing bits there. And then again, she essentially gets Johnny involved more in the plot and his translation subplot. So, yeah, really, really good use of her in this.
Yeah, very good use of her. And like I said, she's the one that comes back and has the sacrifice play after Johnny's able to turn her. She comes back. She pushes Galactus into the wormhole, ultimately, that they're able to banish him. So, I mean, there's a little bit of a plot contrivance where they get back to Earth. They have the whole, is the public going to trust them because they won't give up their baby to Galactus and all that. The whole, like, one life. Is one life worth the cost of billions, all that. And then Sue has a great moment. They're like, okay, we're going to build all these space bridges basically around the planet. I don't know what Reed calls them, but I'm going to call them space bridges because that's basically what they are. And we're going to transport the Earth to a different thing. And I think that was originally like, you could tell that also that was a thing that like, this was the part of the movie that had gone through several rewrites as well, because I know that there's a
lot of writers on this. There's like,
there are. There was a previous version of this script where they were like, the Fantastic Four were originally going to teleport their Earth into kind of Earth 616 space, and that was potentially going to be the cause of an incursion. Thankfully, they didn't go that route, because that I think also is another strength that this movie has going, is that this movie is very, very standalone. Other than obviously, okay, we know that Doctor Doom is coming, and there's the references to Latveria throughout this movie. There are no references to the greater MCU, to the multiverse, none of that, which I think is perfect. You did not need that.
Because here we all were thinking, like, at least I was like, there's something's gonna happen at the end of this movie and they're gonna go to the 616.
Right.
But no, I was like, oh,
No, it doesn't. I mean,
even better.
well,
We still have to wonder why they're going there.
So that's funny that you say that. We get the hint of what's going to bring them to 616, but we don't actually see them going. Is what I appreciate the most. So Reed builds all these space bridges around the Earth in order to try and transport the Earth, and then of course Silver Surfer shows up and destroys him in like 5 seconds. And I'm like, okay, that feels like a little bit of a plot contrivance, but okay. And then obviously Galactus comes and we have our big punch out third act sequence where Sue is basically like, oh, okay, we have to do this. We have to use Franklin as bait. It's the only way that we're going to get this guy here, and we're going to suck him into the portal. And it makes for a very, very entertaining punch him up third act, but not even in the sense of like a typical Marvel third act, because again, the action is very clean. It's very cohesive. The bright colors really help. You can see what's going on. Oh man, the sequence when Galactus it's funny. I thought I was going to have a lot of quibbles with Ben's rock beard. I thought that was going to be dumb, but they even explained that away in the movie. It's like, okay, I kind of see it, but also, I mean, the line when Johnny goes into space, saves Ben after Galactus chucked him into space, and comes back and he's like, "What time is it, Ben?" Like, because they're building up the whole thing throughout. It's like, oh, Ben doesn't want to say the signature line. That's not his line. They just said that for the what's it called, for the cartoon show, for the in-universe cartoon show that they did based on them. And then when he's finally almost reluctant. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of in the 2010s Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movies, how when all the turtles are fighting and Raphael says to Michelangelo, he's like, "Hey Mikey, remember that thing that we used to say when we were kids?" It kind of reminded me of that a little bit, where it's like, oh, it's a little bit of like tongue-in-cheeking while also like paying respect to the original thing. And then he finally does the signature. It's clever in time, and he does it like so reluctantly, but it works. Oh man. I was fist pumping so hard.
Yeah. And people are saying like, oh, Joseph Quinn didn't say "flame on" once. I'm like, he flames on a lot. He's gonna say it every time. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I always thought that like that was kind of the weakest part of the Fantastic Four lore. It's like, wait a minute. So you would assume that the flames are part of his biology, that he would have instinctively figured out how to like flame on and flame off. Why does he need to keep saying it every time? Also, by that logic, why does he need to say flame on, but then he never has to say flame off? Like, have you ever heard Johnny Storm say flame off in anything? Like,
yeah.
No, yeah.
It looks good on a comic book panel. It's like big flame on letters, but in a movie, it's like, okay,
yeah,
they acknowledge it with the cereal toy, and then that was enough.
Exactly. And I will say too, if they were gonna have Johnny do the big sacrifice play, like famously, there's a comic panel in the Fantastic Four Jonathan Hickman run where Johnny Storm sacrifices himself to basically hold off an entire horde of annihilist, aliens in the negative zone, and he famously says "flame on" right before the portal closes, and like that's supposed to be his big sacrifice play.
Maybe we'll get that in a few years.
It's possible. Yeah, if
especially if we're merging universes, and Spider-Man can join the Future Foundation.
That's true.
Thing.
That's true. Yeah, the Future Foundation is a big one. Yeah, because famously, at least I haven't read past Secret Wars, but Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm do not make it out of Secret Wars alive. That's all that I'm gonna say to that. But like I said, if they are setting us up for Franklin and later on Valeria to help, co-found the Future Foundation, that would be something interesting. Okay, so are we gonna have the Doctor Doom conversation now?
I think we have to. I was expecting to have a little more conversation to be had, but
okay.
It comes down to speculation.
Yeah, it really comes down to speculation because again, this is another one where it's like, okay, the post-credit scene was shot for the Russos while they were shooting Doomsday. Same with Thunderbolts, right? Thunderbolts post-credit scene is them arguing with the whole, the Revengers versus Avengers. We're getting sued by Sam Wilson, and then they get alert the Fantastic Four ship is seen coming into space. And then this one, we get the post-credits. It's 4 years later. Sue is with now toddler Franklin, and she goes to get him a book, and then she comes back and she sees Franklin, with a hooded figure and with the face. So we're like, okay, so that's Dr. Doom. And so it is stated that Latveria is a country in this universe. We see multiple hints when Sue is basically running her UN-esque foundation. I don't remember what it's called. But so this is our first instance. We finally got him. Matt Shackman did confirm. They're like, yeah, I did not shoot that. That was all the Russo brothers. That is Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, even if you don't see his face. So as far as the speculation, there's been a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of rumors. We know that they're currently shooting Doomsday right now over in London. We know that
writing.
I was about to say, I'm writing it simultaneously. They do not have a third act yet at all. So, what are your thoughts in general?
I think it's an inclination that Franklin will be very important to the storyline there, because he's not as important in the comic, right? Like he's there, but he's not like. I think there's gonna be some shuffling around. Like there's Molecule Man is gonna be,
yes.
Maybe he'll use
is
Franklin
Loki
as a battery or
well, no. So Molecule Man, they're gonna use Loki, is what it's gonna be. But Franklin Richards famously, so when Doctor Doom merges the universes into Battleworld and becomes the ruler after he steals the powers of the Beyonders, Franklin basically, Doctor Doom basically takes
He takes the
Sue.
family for
Yeah, he
him.
takes the family for himself essentially, and Valeria is running the Future Foundation, and Franklin is basically like, he's not quite the battery, but Franklin is literally operating Galactus as like his own
Oh yeah,
personal
yeah.
weapon,
I
essentially. So
remember
that
now. Yeah.
also I think was kind of interesting as far as how that tied in here with Galactus like wanting Franklin as like kind of his. I don't remember exactly how it's called. It's like, oh, you will basically be my heir, so you will relieve me of my eternal hunger. They didn't really go into the specifics on that. But essentially, what I do know is going to be a plot point is Doctor Doom kidnapping Franklin is going to be the thing that brings the Fantastic Four to Earth 616, essentially, and bring them into conflict with the new Avengers as well. And then that's going to bring them in the old Avengers as well. Thor meeting up with Loki. They're going to go to the X-Men universe, which is where they think Franklin is. That's going to bring them into the fight with the original X-Men. And then by the time they figure out what's going on, Doctor Doom's going to bring through his final plan in order to merge the universes. That's the bare bone effort. So I think that Franklin is going to be one piece of that, and then Loki will be the other piece as well once he goes and confronts him.
People are trying to throw in Wanda into the equation. Like, guys, she'll be there for the mutant saga.
Just
just
she'll
relax.
be there for the mutant saga.
Relax.
Yeah, I mean, do I think that she's not going to be in Doomsday and Secret Wars? No, I think she will play some part. But as far as her coming back and having like a real like main contribution, yeah, they're saving that for when they bring back the mutant saga ultimately. So yeah, it was good. It was a fun little reveal. It was already leaked ahead of time, so I'd already seen it. Obviously, again, kind of the ominous doom and gloom of it's like, okay, they very deliberately did not show his face because, honestly, like I think they're still. I mean, do you think they know what Doctor Doom's face is going to look like? Downey's face is going to look like as Doctor Doom? Like, you think they're going to make him scarred? Do you think they're just going to make him have the faceplate? Like,
I think maybe they'll have something. They won't go overboard where he's unrecognizable. Like maybe he'll have like a real big scar or something. But no, it's still Downey. You're paying him however many millions you're paying him. You're gonna use him to his fullest.
Exactly.
Like, he'll have the mask, but not for like all of it.
And the other interesting thing too also is it's like, okay, are they going to tie into Reed and Doom's history? Because I don't know which incarnation they're going to do because they've done, there's two primary different incarnations when it comes to, you have like Doctor Doom is just kind of like this ancillary villain that the Fantastic Four end up facing, or Doctor Doom and Reed have known each other since they were kids, like Ben, when they studied together. But the difference is they were, Doom was always kind of jealous of Reed's abilities, and that's kind of what drew them apart ultimately. Because famously also, and obviously, we have Franklin Richards in this comic arc as well, but especially if they bring in Valeria, that also is like a big source of contention between Reed and Doom, is the fact that Doom is not only the one who delivers Valeria because Reed is unable to, but is also the one that names her. So that's also another like big point of contention if that comes into play in Doomsday and Secret Wars, because famously it was during an attack by the Annihilus wave as well, where, Reed, Johnny, and Ben were basically having to hold off Annihilus single-handedly, and Doom and Sue was in labor, but there was something wrong, and Doom was the one who safely delivered the child, and his payment for doing so was that he got to name her, and then he ended up naming her after his dead sister. So, yeah, that could be a big point of contention between Reed and Doom, especially since they said that like that's ultimately what it's going to come down to, especially since obviously there's been a lot of rumors as far as who the center figure is going to be for Doomsday. They're like, oh, is it going to be Reed Richards? Is it going to be Anthony Mackie? Is it going to be Florence Pugh? Who is going to be like kind of the lead center figure? And I'm like, it's not going to be any of them. It's going to be centered around Doctor Doom the same way that Infinity War was centered around Thanos. Like, I don't understand why this is a kind of a point of contention, but ultimately, yeah, it's our first instance of Downey as Doctor Doom. We're going to see him in full glory in a year and a half in Doomsday if they finish filming in time. I mean, they have to finish filming in time, right? Because if Doom 3, as they've said now, it's not going to be Doom Messiah. If Doom 3 finishes and is released at Christmas at that time, they need that big double release. That is what's keeping the money rolling in right now as well.
And only one Marvel movie in that year, and Sony's getting like however much of that box office anyway.
Yeah, they really need that movie to come out.
Mr. Iger needs his.
They really do. They really do. He again, that yacht of his is not going to fuel itself. That's all I'm going to say.
Can we pump out Doctor Strange 3 real quick or something?
Yeah. So, seriously, I thought that I'm like, wait, are they going to do at least one more effort between Doomsday and Secret Wars, right? Because if Secret Wars is Christmas of 27, like they need at least one more movie in between. They can't just go a full year in between without it, But I don't know. Maybe they will. But also, like, I feel like, I don't know. Doctor Strange 3, I feel like, would be the movie that they would have, like, secretly shot in between these movies and that they would have pumped out, because we need to see something of Doctor Strange in the Dark Dimension with Clea at the very least. Like Multiverse of Madness left off on too big of a cliffhanger for that. So, Yeah. If that is all that there is to be said, to quote one Greg from Succession, then yeah, I believe that's it. So, Luke, your final thoughts and star ratings for Fantastic Four, our last Marvel effort until Brand New Day next year, and then Doomsday in a year and a half.
In our last superhero movie until Supergirl in
Yes.
June, I think.
Yes.
So I think the bar was met. Just make a great Fantastic Four movie. Get the family dynamic right first, and then you can go into the crazy Doctor Doom saga or whatever. Even their powers are kind of tame in this. Sue has a really good motherhood moment. Like, this is what Marvel does. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy ends with power of friendship. This ends with power of motherhood.
Yes.
But it works because they build it up so well.
Yes.
Through the relationship. So final star rating 4 stars. 4 for the 4. On the 4th go around.
4.
It's not the 4th phase, but
right.
whatever.
This is technically the kickoff for Marvel's Phase 6, which I'm like, I don't even care at this point anymore. I don't think anybody does. Oh man, after the disaster that was Phase 4 and 5, I think we're all kind of sick of the phases, and we're like, yeah, just let's just get to the next. By the time Doomsday comes out, it'll have been 7 years since the last Avengers movie. So I'm like, please, Thunderbolts doesn't count. So I'm like, yeah, can we please just get to the next thing and let's wrap this thing, let's reboot it so we can do what we should have done 4 years ago. But other than that, yes, I tend to agree. This was a very, very good effort. They finally got it. 4th time around is the charm. They nailed the family dynamic. They nailed it. What's it called? They nailed the space saga. They really, really did a good job with this one. I'm really, really impressed. I think I still like Superman a tad bit more, but just as far as I'm like, oh my God, we finally got a comic book accurate, good Fantastic Four movie in my lifetime. I'm more than happy with it. I will take that 4 stars. And with that being said, Luke, like I said, don't go anywhere because we're going right into the Lost Season 2 finale right after this. So, Luke, where can the good people follow you on the interwebs?
They can follow me at Luke Reviews on YouTube. Again, not a whole lot there, but Fantastic Four. This is again another contender for the top 10. I'm looking at my list. This is not that many movies that I've watched ultimately.
It's not like there's that many movies to really watch this year, anyways.
No, there hasn't. Like, I've missed a few here and there, but it's not like egregious. So second half of the year, there's still some bangers to be had. And Avatar 3 trailer looks.
I'm pumped for that.
Like,
that's gonna be
the same thing again, but I'm there every time.
Doesn't matter. Listen, we're not watching these movies for the plot. We don't care.
No. Like Jake and Corge fighting. Like, just give me
Fire
3 more of those.
The Fire Clan, dude, with them with the flamethrowers and then like that. Oh man, I can't wait. I can't fucking wait.
From Game of Thrones, Talisa Stark.
Yes.
Rob Stark's
wife.
Rob Stark.
Una Chaplin. That's right. And I believe we're getting David Thewlis in this as well. I gotta check. I think we are. I'm not sure.
Michelle Yeoh's in it as well.
But I don't remember if they're in this one or if they're not coming in until 4. Also, James Cameron potentially taking a break between 3 and 4 to do Devils by Joe Abercrombie, which I'm
reading it right now. See, it's up there.
Yeah, but I bought the book. It's over there. Also,
it's basically Suicide Squad, but fantasy.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But my question is, when is he going to do the Ghost of Tsushima movie that he's been claiming he's been going to do for years? Like,
I guess he's doing this. I don't think he'll do this for a while. Because I think he'll do Tsushima. Ghost of Hiroshima.
Ghost of Hiroshima.
Ghost of Tsushima is the game.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's separate game. So he'll do Ghost of Hiroshima, then he'll do 4, then Devils, then 5.
I think so.
Okay,
that's how
that
I
makes sense.
imagine it.
Because I'm also thinking of like Cameron's not exactly young. He's like 70, 73, 74 years old now. So it's like he's got to get. I mean, I know Scorsese.
I don't think he is 70.
I think he is. I'm pretty sure he is.
I'm Googling it right now.
All right.
He's exactly 70.
Aha! I knew it. I'm like, okay, so that gives him a little bit of time. But
Avatar 4 doesn't come out till 29, I think.
That's true. And if they finish filming
because they're doing Avengers.
Right.
Marvel has overtaken the.
They're like, we're taking the December slot. The May slot's not working for us anymore. We're doing the December slot. Oh man, this is interesting. Okay, this gives me a lot to think about. This gives me some hope for Cameron's future. Because I'm not gonna lie, Cameron only doing Avatar movies for the rest of his life. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if that's. I love the Avatar movies. But, yeah, maybe. Finally, fingers crossed. Anyways,
4 is supposed to be the really good one that the studio gave no notes on. So,
which is crazy too. But yeah, we'll get to more of that once. But like I said, in the next one. But in the meantime, stay tuned for Talking Lost.